distinguished guests, members of the academic community, friends of ANCLAS, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Eugenia Demuro, the Acting Director of the Australian National Centre for Latin American Studies. In this role, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the formal launch of the Portuguese Language Course. To begin with, we acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians on whose traditional lands we meet, and pay our respects to the elders of the Ngunnawal people, past and present. I extend a warm welcome to any members of Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander communities present here tonight. Tonight's event is a very special one. We're gathered here to celebrate the fantastic work of the School of Language Studies and of the Embassy of Brazil in Australia, which have come together to offer Portuguese at the ANU for the first time. This partnership is yet again another instance of the ANU's ongoing commitment to engaging with Latin America. For ANCLAS, the new Portuguese course is of relevance on a number of fronts. The course can be undertaken by students completing the Bachelor of Latin American Studies, and as I understand it, students enrolled in the Bachelor will now have the opportunity of choosing Spanish and Portuguese as part of the language component of their degree. Secondly, ANCLAS currently has the highest concentration of Brazilianists anywhere in Australia, with about 3 permanent members and 1 affiliated member out of 5 members researching on Brazil. For this reason, ANCLAS welcomes the initiative of the Portuguese language course as a means to generate greater awareness of Brazil with students and staff of the university, as well as with the general community in Canberra. Finally, the Portuguese course provides us with yet again another opportunity to promote Latin America in Australia and to hopefully create further connections between these two regions. I would like to conclude by citing a literary critic and writer from Argentina, Enrique Anderson Imbert, who said that each language provides us with a view of the universe. Each language provides us with a way of representing ourselves. To learn a new language means, therefore, to open up our personality to new dimensions. And I can think of no better reason to celebrate tonight's launch, knowing that this course means that we will be engaging the perspectives of more than 200 million native speakers of Portuguese from around the world. Tonight we will hear from a number of speakers who have made the link between the university and the embassy possible and who have made possible the teaching of Portuguese at the ANU. First up, we'll hear from Erik Lithander, who is the Vice-Chancellor International and Outreach of the ANU. He will be followed by Professor Catherine Travis, Chair of Modern European Languages and Deputy Head of School from the School of Language Studies at the ANU. Professor Travis will be followed by Dr. Elisabeth Meyer from the School of Language Studies, who will be the actual coordinator of the Portuguese course at the ANU. And finally, our last speaker will be the Ambassador of Brazil in Australia, His Excellency, Mr. Rubem Correa Barbosa. So Erik, I invite you to come to the podium. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues, and students, my name is Erik Lithander. I'm ANU's Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Vice President for International and Outreach Affairs, and it's my great privilege to formally welcome you to this very special event tonight to launch the new Portuguese language course at the Australian National University. I would particularly like to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency the Ambassador of Brazil, Rubem Barbosa. Ambassador Barbosa is a longtime friend of ANU, and it's always a very great pleasure to welcome him back onto the campus. So welcome, Ambassador. And let me also take this opportunity to thank the Embassy of Brazil and the Government of Brazil for the very generous financial support which is making this course possible. As I've mentioned to some of you previously, I had the tremendous privilege and fortune to spend 6 years living in Brazil during my childhood in the city of Curitiba. I was back then a fluent Portuguese speaker, although fluent with the vocabulary of a 9-year-old. Unfortunately, those days are long gone, but now I do many other things at the level of a 9-year-old. Today's launch, for that reason, is one which, quite apart from being very significant to the ANU as an institution, is significant for me at a personal level. And I was really delighted and honoured to be given the opportunity to speak this evening. One of the reflections that I often have when thinking about the ways in which we try to prepare our students for life beyond the relative comfort of the campus environment is how incredibly complicated the world is that those students are going to move into. And I don't mean complicated because of the complexity of the challenges that they will find in their professional lives or in their personal lives, although certainly those will be very real challenges. I mean the complexity of choosing between what will be an almost unlimited number of opportunities that they can pursue in their lives. Students who graduate with academic qualifications from the world's leading universities, such as ANU, and who are open-minded and prepared to be internationally mobile, quite literally have the world at their feet. And they're in all likelihood not only going to go through their lives and have a number of different jobs, but quite possibly have a number of different careers in a number of different countries. Preparing students to be able to succeed and flourish in an environment which is virtually without boundaries and without geographic borders is itself an extremely complicated affair, and one which we take very seriously at ANU. In such a world, without question, one of the greatest skills that we can give our students is the mastery of languages. As Australia's national university, the ANU has always taken that very seriously and has always played a leading role in the teaching and research of languages in the Australian context. In the latest QS World University Rankings, released only a couple of weeks ago, modern languages at the ANU were ranked in the top 20 globally. They came in at number 16, which was an improvement of 2 places from 2012. And my view is that the flatter that the earth gets and the less differentiated that popular culture around the world gets, and the less meaningful that national and cultural boundaries become, the more important it is to develop language skills. I'm of the very strong opinion that the people who are going to thrive and succeed in this world, a world which is simultaneously extremely complicated and extremely simple, are those who can appreciate difference, who can connect with each other at a different level, at a deeper level, and who can demonstrate respect and understanding for each other's cultures and histories, well beyond the average culture which popular culture is feeding us. I can't think of a better way to do that than by speaking each other's language. So that's my somewhat roundabout and rather philosophical way of saying that today's launch of the Portuguese Language Program at ANU makes a very meaningful and significant contribution to our ability to train and develop the brightest students and the most able students in the years ahead. And of course, will also hopefully play a significant part in bringing Australia closer to the world's Portuguese-speaking countries. As a mechanism for supporting the long-term future of this particular initiative, I'm delighted to announce the creation within ANU of the Portuguese Language Endowment, which sits within the ANU Endowment for Excellence. This recognizes the need to preserve our capabilities to teach and research Portuguese at ANU. The ANU Endowment of Excellence is a way that our supporters, the university supporters, can contribute funds which are intended to last forever in perpetuity. These funds are invested and the interest earned supports the university's work in a number of different areas. And I'm very excited to be able to let you know that only a few days ago, a very significant enabling donation was made to the new Portuguese Language Endowment. This donation was made by an anonymous donor who wishes to remain anonymous. But I would like to, on behalf of the university and on behalf of everybody involved in this initiative, give a very sincere thanks to that donor for that enabling gift. On top of the already generous contribution which the Embassy and the Government of Brazil has made towards this program, these two gifts very clearly indicate the significance of directly supporting teaching. And these sorts of gifts should not be underestimated because quite apart from the monetary value of the gift, it also educates other people about the value of philanthropy and the value of supporting excellent teaching. So I'll conclude there with the message that if you're passionate about the Portuguese language, about research and teaching into Portuguese, I hope that you'll keep supporting this initiative. And all of us who work at ANU will be more than happy to talk to you today or some other day about ways in which you can also support us taking this forward. Thank you very much.
Boa noite a todos. Sejam bem-vindos ao lançamento dos cursos de português aqui na ANU. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the launch of the Portuguese courses here at the ANU. ANU is a national and regional resource for languages, both because of the breadth and the depth of the languages that we teach. ANU teaches a total of 27 languages, which is more than any other university in Australia. And this brings together a greater concentration of scholars in languages and language-related areas in Australia and competes internationally. Our teaching on these languages is closely tied in with research in related fields, such as linguistics, literature, second language pedagogy, language and culture, and ANU is internationally and nationally recognised for this. Erik mentioned our ranking on the international ranking on the QNS scale of 16th in the world in the field of language studies. Within Australia, we're ranked equal top with another unnamed university. And of course, as Eugenia mentioned, Latin America is a major area of research for the ANU, and in particular Brazil through the Australian National Centre for Latin American Studies. So we are delighted to expand this program and to include Portuguese in our repertoire of languages that we teach. And we're most grateful to the support by the Embassy of Brazil and the Government of Brazil that has enabled us to do this. This is a very exciting expansion for us in many ways. For one thing, Portuguese itself. Portuguese is, of course, a major world language. It's one of the most widely spoken Romance languages with over 200 million speakers in the world. Brazil is, of course, a growing world economy and is a major trade partner for Australia. And producing Portuguese speakers will greatly help Australia enhance our trade relations with Portuguese. As a Dutch saying puts it, I can buy in any language, but will only clinch a good sale in yours. To reiterate Erik's point. And this offering of Portuguese also opens up another country in Latin America to our students. And this is no less than the beautiful, diverse and fascinating country of Brazil, which is a land of warmth, fun and passion, and of course good food, reflected in some of those key Brazilian values of saudade, samba, caipirinha, feijoada. This inclusion of Portuguese also ties in very well with some areas in which ANU is growing and expanding. I mentioned our interest in teaching and research on Latin America from ANCLAS. Across the university, we also have a great amount of interest in Indigenous languages in Australia and Indigenous languages in Latin America. So this is another wonderful area that we can explore partnerships. It also closely relates to our Spanish program, which is one of the most popular languages at ANU. Within the Spanish program in particular, we have a very strong research area in Hispanic linguistics. We're the only university in Australia that is teaching Hispanic linguistics classes in Spanish. We are looking forward to launching an advanced minor in Hispanic linguistics, and we are working on launching a centre for Romance linguistics. Several of the scholars in Hispanic linguistics have done research not just on Spanish but also on Portuguese. So our teaching of Portuguese will allow us to further that endeavour, which we're very excited about. And another area in which the introduction of Portuguese develops on areas in which ANU is expanding is, of course, the innovative method in which it is going to be taught using a flexible delivery method that I won't say more about because I will leave my colleague Elisabeth, who's done an absolutely fabulous job in working to set up this course, and she will explain to you a little bit of the details about how this will be run in this very innovative method that we're using. So, aprovecham a noite e muito obrigada.
Boa noite a todos. I'm very happy to be here today to announce that the Portuguese course is actually going ahead. And I will only be talking about the course delivery because we have already heard so much about this wonderful opportunity. So the course will be delivered in a mixed form. That means we have got part online and part will be face-to-face. So the online part will be done through Indiana University, and we will have 2 morning lectures because of the time difference between Indiana University and ANU. This will probably be 8:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock, twice a week for the students. And for our wonderful Brazilian lecturer at Indiana University, this will be 5, 6, 7 at nights, depending on whether we have got time differences and changes. We are planning to do these online courses either through Skype or Adobe Connect. We have to see how it pans out. We still have to see what works best for us. This means it's going to be a very interactive classroom. There will be the big screen, and all the students will be sitting in front of the screen in a round table or an oval table, and everyone will be able to interact actively with the lecturer. And thanks to the generous support of the Brazilian embassy, the support of the Brazilian government through the Embassy of Brazil, we can offer the students, on top of the online delivery, face-to-face conversation classes. Extracurricular activities like movies, discussions, capoeira evenings, happy hours. In a nutshell, the type of cultural immersion that an online class might lack otherwise. And that will greatly contribute to the students' learning and cultural understanding, both vital factors for successful communication in their future careers. The course is open to all Bachelor of Arts students, undergraduates and postgraduates, to ANU students enrolled and physically present on campus. This is our option number 1, so we will have ANU students on campus. Our option number 2 is also to open the course to cross-institutional enrollment across Australia. This will be great because very few universities in Australia actually teach Portuguese. So students from across Australia, from universities, will be able to take the course with us and will then be able to count the credit towards their degrees. And I'm also thinking of a third option, opening it to the wider community, where we could have a non-award enrollment through an auditing fee, so that anyone who has an interest in Brazilian culture, in Brazilian language, or Portuguese culture and Portuguese language could actually take this course. And this is not the end. We will go on thinking what we can do specifically with Camila Ducati, which I would like to acknowledge very, very much. Camila has been amazing since the first day we met. We have just talked and created, and I think this is a good start for a wonderful program that will progress. So what about the student enrollments background? So far, we've got 12 students enrolled, which is a lot because the semester hasn't stopped yet, hasn't ended, and students are still thinking what to do for next semester. So we've got 10 national students and 2 international students. These come from very, very different areas, various areas. There are Bachelor of Arts students, combined Bachelor of Arts and Commerce students, Bachelor of Languages, Bachelor of Classical Studies, and Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Philosophy, there's an honors student, and Bachelor of International Relations, and also Bachelor of Latin American Studies. So the course seems to be appealing to a big variety of different students. As a last point, I would like to mention the philanthropic idea. As you all know, high quality teaching uses cutting edge modern technology, and this is very expensive. So complementing the very generous support by the Embassy of Brazil with an endowment fund is vital to the support of continued teaching of Portuguese at ANU. So we have flyers, I think you have all seen them, available on this, and we would be very grateful if you could help us distribute them and support the new Portuguese course in any way possible. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and good night. My acknowledgements go to Dr. Erik Lithander, Pro-Vice-Chancellor for International and Outreach of ANU. Thanks for the kind words about my country and about myself. Professor Tony Mackay, Dean of the College of Arts and Social Sciences. Professor Jane Simpson, Head of the School of Language Studies. Dr. Kathleen Travis, Chair of Modern European Languages. Dr. Elisabeth Meyer, Coordinator of the Portuguese course. Dr. Eugenia Demuro, ANCLAS Acting Director. Ambassador Pedro Villagra Delgado, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, most of all, a good friend, a wonderful diplomat, and a beacon for all of us. East Timor Ambassador Abel Guterres, thanks for your presence. Antonio Mascarenhas Gaivão, Chargé d'Affaires of Portugal, thanks for being with us today. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues and friends of the FAT, ANCLAS staff, Brazilian researchers and professors at ANU, Portuguese professors in Canberra, Brazilian students under the Science Without Borders scheme at ANU. Muito obrigado pela presença de vocês. Dear friends who have learned Portuguese as a foreign language, dear students already enrolled in the Portuguese course, representatives of the press, ladies and gentlemen, who come here tonight in this very special evening. Education is one of the most dynamic and surely one of the most important aspects of the Australia-Brazil bilateral relationship. When I first assumed my position as ambassador to this country in late October 2010, around 16,000 Brazilian students arrived in Australia every year. More recently, with the launch of the Science Without Borders scheme in 2011, we have seen an upsurge in that number. This program involves the settlement abroad of about 100,000 Brazilian students over a period of 4 years, scholarships fully paid by the Brazilian government, symbolizing our urge, acknowledge the need for better education and fast in my country. This semester, on top of those 16,000 already coming here regularly, there are also 750 Science Without Borders students enrolled in the most prestigious Australian universities. There are 59 undergraduates just at ANU, some of whom are with us tonight. By the end of the current year, Australian universities will be hosting roughly 1,500 Brazilian graduates and undergraduate students under this scheme. This accounts for 200% increase in the number of Science Without Borders grantees in Australia since the program started. Such academic exchanges and scientific partnerships are key levers for promoting trade and investment deals between our two countries. A significant number of Brazilians have already been recruited to work in Australian companies, and the opposite is also true, following the increase in the flow of bilateral direct investments. Learning Portuguese has become, therefore, not only an academic interest, but also an essential and advantageous tool to key Australian industries and businesses. Now it is time to launch this partnership with ANU in order to enrich the academic experience of all those interested in learning Portuguese, a most significant achievement indeed. Every semester, the students will have the opportunity to take part in seminars, conferences, and in short extension courses with a Brazilian professor on topics related to Brazilian culture, society, and history. Those who wish to do so will also be able to get tailored advice on how to prepare for the proficiency exam in Portuguese as a foreign language. The members of the community of Portuguese-speaking countries are Portugal, Angola, Brazil, Cape Verde, East Timor, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, and São Tomé e Príncipe. Equatorial Guinea has recently adopted Portuguese as an official language and is seeking to join this community. In all, there are more than 240 million Portuguese-speaking people in the world. Portuguese as a foreign language has become a compulsory part of the school curriculum of all Spanish-speaking founding members of Mercosur, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Given the demographic size and weight of the Portuguese-speaking world, the community of Portuguese-speaking countries has petitioned that Portuguese be considered an official language at the United Nations. At present, the Brazilian government sponsors 40 Portuguese language lectureships around the world. In Asia, There are 3 lectureships in China, 2 in Beijing and 1 in Guangzhou, and a 4th will soon be launched in Shanghai. There is also a lectureship in Vietnam, and Thailand will have one in the near future. I'm quite happy to be here today celebrating a partnership with a world-class university such as ANU. This accomplishment fulfills in a strong way the aspirations of the head of governments of both Brazil and Australia when, in June 2012 in Rio, they upgraded Brazil-Australia bilateral relations to the level of a strategic partnership on the occasion of Prime Minister Júlio Aguilar's visit to Brazil. As Brazil's ambassador to Australia, I see the partnership now established with the ANU School of Language Studies as an important landmark in the history of cultural ties between our 2 nations. The Portuguese language students at ANU will be able to interact with the Brazilian academic and to participate in extracurricular activities, especially devised to enrich their knowledge of Brazil. It is expected that this knowledge will open many new doors to their professional lives. We cannot foresee where those doors are going to lead, but surely they will push the 2 giant countries of the Southern Hemisphere even closer. Dear colleagues and friends, Abel Guterres, Ambassador of East Timor, and Antonio Mascarenhas Gaivão, Chargé d'Affaires of Portugal. First of all, a heartfelt thanks to you for being with all of us today. Portugal, it has to be stressed, is the origin of the Portuguese language, spoken both in Brazil and in East Timor today. The great adventure of the discoveries in the 15th century very much contributed to shape the world as it is today. One may never forget that even the first fleet that reached Australia in 1788 stopped in Rio on its way from Britain, pausing at South Africa and finally arriving in Australia. Within the community of Portuguese-speaking countries, East Timor is the youngest brother, having joined the organization in 2002, so a little after the independence in 1999. Without East Timor, none of us could have Portuguese spoken so close to Australian shores nowadays. I acknowledge the efforts of all those who worked diligently to build this collaboration and wholeheartedly thank you all for taking part in the celebration of this important occasion. And at this moment, I think I have also to make mine the acknowledgements that were already presented in favor of Secretary Camila Junquete. It was only after her arrival in Australia a little over a year ago that we could create or recreate a cultural section at the embassy and make the Embassy of Brazil again part of the Canberra cultural life and, putting Brazil more in the map in the federal capital. Thank you very much. The result is easy to be seen. I kindly invite you all to join me in a glass of wine, and once again, thanks very much for your presence.
I would just like to thank all of the speakers tonight, Dr. Erik Lithander, Professor Catherine Travis, Dr. Elisabeth Mayer, and of course His Excellency Rubem Barbosa. Just before we finish, I have to make a couple of announcements related to ANCLAS. One is this Friday, May 24th. ANCLAS, along with the Embassy of Argentina, are putting together a panel titled Literature and Decoloniality in Latin America. The event is at 3 p.m. in Manning Clark Lecture Theatre 4. Next Tuesday, the 28th of May, as a continuation of the launch of Portuguese, ANCLAS, along with the Embassy of Brazil, will screen the documentary Oscar Niemeyer, A Breath of Fresh Air. The screening will be preceded by a lecture on the modernization of Brazil from ANCLAS associate Dr. Carlos Pio. So that's at 6:30 in Manning Clark Lecture Theatre 3, next Tuesday, as a continuation of the celebration of the launch of Portuguese. This concludes the formal proceedings of tonight's launch. On behalf of the Embassy of Brazil and of ANCLAS, I thank all of you for being here, and invite everyone to stay and enjoy the cocktail reception. Thank you.